They said the room had no door. No window. No lock. Only a wall of cold stone that hummed faintly when touched. The servants called it cursed, the priests called it holy, and the people whispered that even the king dared not approach it after nightfall. But Prince Elian could not stay away. He stood alone in the eastern wing of the castle, torchlight trembling in his grip, staring at the wall that was not quite a wall. For as long as he could remember, he had felt its pull, as though the sealed room behind it breathed in rhythm with his own heart. And now, with his father lying ill and the kingdom sliding toward ruin, Elian wondered if the secret inside this stone chamber was the key to saving them all, or the blade that would destroy them. The truth was that he feared the room more than he feared death. And yet he reached forward. The burden of a prince. Elian had never been meant for the crown. His elder brother, Roderick, had been the warrior, the heir, the golden flame of their father's hopes. Elian had been left to books, to wandering thoughts, to dreams of music and freedom. But when Roderick died suddenly in a hunting accident, all eyes turned to him. The king, weakened by grief, grew stern. You must carry what your brother dropped. Do not falter. Do not ask why. And so Elian tried to mold himself into the man his kingdom wanted. He learned the strategies of war, but the weight of armor crushed his shoulders. He sat in council, but the endless arguments sickened him. At night he dreamed of Roderick's laughter, of his brother's hand on his shoulder, of a life that had shattered like glass. The sealed room was the only place where those dreams felt alive. Something about it stirred memory and longing, though he could not say why. Whispers in the walls. The first time he pressed his ear against the stone, he thought he heard music. A single note, low and sorrowful, like a harp string stretched too tight. He stumbled back, convinced it was his imagination. But the sound followed him into sleep. Night after night, Elian returned. Some nights he thought he heard voices, a woman's, soft as wind, and a man's, weary but strong. They never spoke clearly, yet their murmur wrapped around his heart like chains. When he asked the high priest about the sealed room, the old man's eyes darkened. It was built when your great-grandfather reigned. No record tells why. Some doors, my prince, are not meant to open. But Elian's blood burned with questions. If the room had no entrance, how had it been built? Why did the wall hum with life? And why, when he pressed his palm against the stone, did warmth spread through his veins like the touch of kin? The breaking point. The kingdom was breaking. Crops failed, rivers dried, and whispers of rebellion spread through the villages. The people muttered that the royal bloodline was cursed. Elian, too gentle, too uncertain, bore the brunt of their despair. One night, when the king's fever worsened, Elian wandered again to the sealed room. Torch in hand, trembling with helpless rage, he struck the wall with his fist. "Tell me what you are," he shouted. "If there is a curse, if there is a truth, give it to me. I am drowning in shadows and lies." And the wall answered. The stone glowed faintly beneath his hand. Cracks laced across the surface like veins of fire. With a sound like a sigh, part of the wall dissolved into dust. Behind it yawned darkness, cold, waiting, endless. Against every instinct, Elian stepped inside. The room. The air smelled of iron and roses. Moonlight, though there was no window, fell across the chamber, illuminating chains that hung from the ceiling. At the center of the room stood a figure. It was a man, but not entirely. His eyes shone silver, his hair black as ink, and from his back sprouted wings of shadow that seemed half-tattered, half-whole. Chains bound his wrists and ankles, and symbols burned faintly on the floor beneath him. "You have my brother's face," the man whispered. Elian froze. "What are you?" The chained figure smiled with bitterness. "I am what your bloodline hides. I am what they sealed away to keep their throne. And you, prince, are the key that breaks my prison." Elian's torch guttered. His pulse thundered in his ears. "My family sealed you here." "Yes. Long ago, when your great-grandfather bargained for power. I am his oath made flesh. His pact bound me, half man, half shadow, to fuel the strength of his sons. But bargains rot, and chains weaken. I have waited for the one who carries the same blood, the same face, to open the door. Elian stumbled back. If you are freed, what will you do? The figure's wings stretched, shadows spilling like ink. I will take back what was stolen. I will end the line that bound me. The conflict of blood. For days after that night, Elian could not eat, could not think. He walked the halls with his father's voice rasping in his ears. Do not falter. Do not ask why. Now he knew why. His family had built its crown upon a bargain of chains. And the burden had passed to him. Yet something in the prisoner's eyes haunted him. They were not eyes of a monster. They were tired, wounded, human. Elian dreamed of them, just as he once dreamed of his brother. In those dreams the voice murmured, "Set me free, and I will set you free." But if he broke the chains, he might unleash ruin upon his kingdom. If he did nothing, he would live and die as a keeper of lies. An unexpected truth. When his father finally lay dying, Elian sat beside him. "Tell me of the sealed room," he whispered. The king's eyes widened with fear. "You opened it." "Yes." The old man wept. "Then the curse has already begun. Listen to me, Elian. He is not your enemy. He is your kin. Your great-grandfather bound his own brother to the chains to steal his strength. That blood has fed us for generations. We live because he suffers. If you free him, the kingdom may crumble. If you keep him bound, the kingdom will endure, but your soul will rot as mine has." Elian could not breathe. The prisoner was family. His own flesh and blood. The choice. The night the king died, the people demanded Elian's coronation. But Elian walked instead to the sealed room. The figure stood as before, wings like broken sails, chains burning against his skin. "You know the truth now," the prisoner said softly. "You know who I am to you." Elian raised the torch. His hands shook. "If I free you, will you destroy us?" The figure tilted his head. "Would you not, if you had been betrayed, chained, forgotten for centuries? And yet, I do not crave their throne. I crave breath. I crave sky. I crave to live as more than a ghost in stone." Elian's heart tore in two. Duty clawed at him. Compassion bled through him. He thought of Roderick's death, his father's lies, his people's despair. He thought of freedom, of truth, of the courage to choose not what was easy, but what was human. He lifted the torch to the chains. The twist. Fire licked the cymbals. Chains cracked. The prisoner gasped as the shadows around him shuddered and broke. For one terrible moment, Elian thought the castle itself would collapse. Then silence. The man stood free. His wings dissolved into mist, leaving only a scarred, trembling figure. He looked younger, almost fragile. Tears glistened in his silver eyes. "You have given me life again," he whispered. "And for that, nephew, I will give you truth." He laid a hand on Elian's chest. In an instant, visions seared through him, wars built on lies, victories born of stolen power, centuries of kings who wore crowns forged from betrayal. And behind it all, the suffering of one man, erased from history. When the vision ended, Elian fell to his knees. "What now?" he whispered. The freed man gazed toward the dark horizon beyond the stone. "Now, you decide whether to tell your people what their kings have hidden, or to let them keep their faith in shadows." Conclusion. At dawn, the bells rang for Elian's coronation. The throne awaited him. The people gathered with desperate hope in their eyes. But Elian stood in the hall, crown in hand, his uncle's shadow at his side, and he knew there was no path that did not wound. To reveal the truth was to risk tearing his kingdom apart. To hide it was to bind himself with the same chains his fathers had carried. He looked at the crown. He looked at the sealed room, now broken, now free. And he whispered, almost to himself, perhaps a kingdom must fall before it can truly live. The people waited. The crown trembled in his hands. And the story of the sealed room was only just beginning.